Hello and welcome to UK Coaster Single Rider Podcast. And today we have an interview with theme park fanatic Przybylski.
Hello.
And today's topic is chosen by Kaz, and that is theme park operations. So firstly, something that me and Kaz have discussed on a private basis, we now want to bring it into the YouTube world, onto the UK Coaster Single Rider channel, and talk about accessibility with an interest into RAP systems.
So I feel the ride access having isn't as quite as it thinks there couldn't be, because I feel where sometimes where you're meant to put like steady in the sense where you're saying waiting this time, but actually you're not. You're waiting a lot longer throughout the ride access pass instead of throughout the queue, because I think partly to do the rapid access pass is to them to make money. Because the bit what I would think, how can there's a disability section for people with vulnerable, right? And there's a fast track access pass. The way what I think, so there's 3 types of queue line. The fast track. What my questions me. So why can't many parks staff members who work says follow the system? And what is fast track all about? It's meant to be a percent of getting on faster, but actually some theme parks what I've experienced is actually it's more to make money for fast.
So what you're really questioning is, what is the main purpose of the ride access pass? And Kaz is sort of showing that the ride access pass, don't get me wrong, is very, very good and important. For instance, the top level pass, you can have a carer with you, the red ride access pass. But some people are ambulant and some people are non-ambulant in this situation of having a red ride access pass. And essentially they're taking advantage of the ride access pass system. Like, for instance, I've been out with a rider who's got, they say, autism, and they have to wear headphones if they're in a normal queue to sort of tone down the noise. But in this sense, they're ambulant, but they're autistic, and they've got a red pass. And because the red pass can be hidden, essentially they're able to skip queues. And there's people that are paying for a fast pass, for instance, but yet they're waiting longer than others. And should the ride access pass be changed, Kaz?
Personally, yes, due to because I've exactly the same. I feel it's just a fast track. It's making money, more to make money. But what I've recognised, they don't follow what it's meant to say. It's like the difference between timings and how long. Because I've had many years of having an access pass throughout a kid, and it doesn't add up. And how come there's more people queuing up longer, and there's at the same time there's more going through the access pass and not in the fast track? But at times when it's very busy, certain rides I've been on experience,
Okay,
they are people jumping through the queue on a fast track, and they're not as well, not always, they don't check due to I reckon due to the lack of communication on what does the staff actually follow, what is the staff following operating system, do they actually know what they're doing?
so what you're saying is you don't see procedures in place to make things fair, and you're kind of opening up a broader topic there. Although the podcast is about operations, you're you're sort of focusing deeper on the operation side of things, and we're not trying to discriminate against ride access pass systems, because we have friends and members of the group who use rat passes. I don't think you have a rat pass, do you, Kaz? Because I don't. No, but we know people that do.
We know a lot,
and
of
we've seen how the system can be manipulated. But something that we also want to look at in operations and queue lines is the single rider queue. And myself and Kaz use single rider when we're out with a group. We're happy to do that. But what do you think about the single rider operations at the moment? You mainly see them in operation at Merlin. What's your opinion on that, Kaz?
I think when you say my opinion about them operation,
the operations of the single rider lines. Do you think they're good? Do you think they're being used properly? Do you think that the staff are putting the effort in?
In some rides, some it's okay, but some other members of staff could make it better and fairer I would say due to it all, because there are certain people on staff who does the rides is sort of not doesn't quite know what they're doing as well, and I reckon there's some rides it's a disadvantage due to the staff not knowing, so people could easily.
So you're saying there's a lack of consistency with the training, which affects people's overall day at the park?
Yes.
I see. What about so? I even talked about this with Kaz prior to an interview, SAW queue line. I have been in the single rider queue for SAW, and I feel like SAW operates differently to the majority of other single rider queues. There could be 2 spaces on SAW's carriage, but rather than use single rider queues, the SAW staff will look at the normal queue and look for 2 people. And so it could be 8 people back before there's 2 people that want to ride just with 2 people. And they'll make people come from the normal queue through those 8 people to take the 2 seats. And for me, this is foolish. It could cause an accident, trying to get through the crowd. It's poor crowd control. And that's my opinion of it. And it annoys me. Some days I'll go in the Smiler single rider queue and I'm there for minutes, literally a few minutes. And one day the queue time for Smiler was 80 minutes. We went in the single rider queue. There was 4 of us in there and it took 70 minutes, so we saved 10 minutes. 10 minutes is good, but we could have waited an extra 10 minutes and all been together. And I know Sean from Theme Park Worldwide has sort of targeted this recently. And he was open and honest about it at the end, saying, sometimes it's beneficial, sometimes it's not. It shouldn't be like that. It should be beneficial. What do you think about that, Kaz?
I think it should just be beneficial stuff throughout the theme park. It should just be all the same. It should just be fair and not due to a lot of people doesn't follow the policy and procedures to make things right. And I think a lot should be changed about it.
Absolutely. And I had a discussion with Kaz and I said to him, what about they do at festivals? They give you this one-time wristband and the only way you can get it off is by cutting it off. If you had a red wristband to say you had a red rat pass, okay, so if you went into the queue for the Smiler, they put down 50 minutes because the queue time was 50 minutes. There would be no way that someone could get in a normal queue, for instance. Pardon me for using the word normal, but the regular queue with the red rat pass on and skip the queue time, because then that way they can say, I know you've got a red rat pass, let's have a look at your card, what time did you... It would make it fairer. And they need to, in my opinion, make single riders fairer. They need a system that people know how the single rider operates, because not all single riders operate the same. I find the likes of 13, you can get on the ride very quickly. And why should it be any different with SAW? Okay, 13 has got 2 seats per car, whereas SAW's got 4 in a row, and I think there's 2 rows on each carriage. The ride system is a little bit different, but does the single rider need to be different for that? In my opinion, it's not operated fairly. Anyway, we've talked quite in depth about that sort of area, and prior to the interview, me and Kaz set up a list of things that Kaz wants to address, and we're going to move on to a topic that we're both fond of, and that is food. And firstly, we're going to look at food costs. Kaz, over to you.
So I did some bit exploring at a theme park a couple of weeks ago. A sausage and a roll and a bit of cheese sauce, £9.95. Why is it that? I noted it was through Lidl's own food. So, and a pack of on its own sausages with a bit of water. The hot dog stuff is £1.29. The rolls was 70p. And a bit of cheese sauce is at least 59p on its own. The question is, why is it £9.95 when it's surely one sausage out of a bowl, which is what's that, 11 pence? A roll, which is 70p, what's that, 70p, 16.5 pence per roll, and probably 5 pence for a square of cheese. Why is it £9.95 all that mini bit was 59 pence? Why is it you make it your own? You make it your own, and the parks are charging that amount. Is it really? It's not for the food, or is it actually to more make money? I think the price worth for what they're charging is disgraceful, and personally, I wouldn't even charge that due to even a public, because £10 for that is 5 days worth of batch cooking. And I wouldn't even accept that. And there isn't even many due to theme parks cost of food, many opportunities. Like, there isn't like a massive nice much about it. Like, very many options to choose from. For the prices for the food at the theme parks is actually disgraceful. And yeah,
I totally agree with that, and you sort of pointed to the next subject there is, let's be fair, the quality of the hot dog you're getting is not very good, is it? It doesn't even taste like meat, and you're being advertised as, let's say it's pork and turkey in a sausage, when you can get a sausage out of Lidl's, for instance. It's not just Lidl's, it's just an example for, what was it, I think you said about 11 pence for the sausage, and you know, we're being charged £9.95 for a sausage and a roll, which is probably not very good for your health. And that's where we're sort of looking next, is food availability. What are your experiences of getting a healthy meal at a theme park, Cass?
Nothing. No healthy meal would be at a theme park. You would not get any types of healthy meals, even a fruit salad, which is they could charge a couple of quid, but you will not even get a healthy meal due to food, beverages, drinks, the lack of it's very unhealthy. Like, I think the food for healthiness and is not good at theme parks. And to be honest, can I say my budget of how much my lunchbox was?
Yeah, go ahead.
I made me and Phil's single rider group. I made us a packed lunchbox, and that was less than £10 and 5 times more. Because the lunchbox I made cost me £4.50 for like literally 7 sandwiches, pack of 4 cartons of orange, 6 ones, something like that, 2 bottles of water, a pack of crisps, 6 packs. you think how much a benefit, and that it was healthy, homemade as well, not just out of a mini sausage. There's like I've got a lot out of where you can make your own. And many years I've explored just spending money at a theme park, but I look down towards financial, the cost of, and what are you actually gaining out of the food, what the theme parks can provide.
And I just want to expand on that a little. I'm going to be honest. Like, I found the healthiest food that I have found at a theme park is probably a pizza, or even at the pizza pasta buffet. You can get something reasonably healthy, but there isn't a consistency of that around the parks. And if you look at, I think recently the pizza pasta buffet is something between £25 and £29. It varies between parks, you know, that's per person, mind. And then you get given this sort of miniature plate. And then my experience with the Alton Towers one, the soft drinks weren't even available. So I paid, this was a couple of years ago, I paid less than that, but it was similar in price considering inflation. And I thought that was disgusting, that I couldn't even have a drink with my meal that I paid for. So a recent experience, I took the group to Alton Towers. We went into the Oak and Change restaurant to be shocked to be delivered our burgers in donuts. And then I ordered like a side order of what seemed to be garlic bread, but it turned out to be a donut with herb icing, you know, like green garden herbs, but has icing. And I'm not trying to criticize Alton Towers, like just put them out there and openly criticize them, but it was the most disgusting meal I ever had in my life. I paid about £35 and I felt quite sick whilst eating it. I had to eat it, I was really hungry. The only good thing about it was the fries. And I've been, I know the Vibes Bar at Fort Park, they do like meals, and as I mentioned, the pizza pasta buffet, you've got, there's quite a good one at Chessington, but the price you're paying, and you get a bit of shaved carrots, you get some garden salad, but you're not getting a good meal like, for instance, a roast dinner with some beef and some broccoli and some cabbage and roast potatoes. You're not getting that. You don't even have a fast food venue that does Yorkshire pudding wraps at the moment that I know of. There could be one possibly at One Towers on the side, but there definitely isn't a truly healthy option at the theme parks around the UK. There really isn't. If you go to Blackpool, for instance, there's dozens of cafes along the beach where you can get an English breakfast, which is reasonably healthy, with like fried egg, with some plum tomatoes, some beans. You know, you've got 3 of your 5 a day there. Not eggs, sorry, my apologies, eggs aren't part of your 5 a day, but it's healthy, it's good protein. And you're not going to get easily your 5 a day at a theme park in the UK. And for us, that's not good. And, you know, I can't change that. I doubt that Kaz can change it. It's not something we can change overnight. And I think it's something that the theme park, chartered parks, I don't know whether they're chartered parks or not, but I think the sort of governors of the theme park industry need to look at that. Anyway, we're going to move on from food availability and talk about some experiences that me and Kaz have had personally. And we're going to start briefly about payment methods and then go in and talk more deeply with some experience. So Kaz, payment methods at theme parks.
I think since over the years, where you could pay through cashless and now you can, and where you just only, it's mainly most places you can only use card payments only, or Apple Pay, or I think that's disgusting. Where there should be a loads of different opportunities to pay however the person wants to pay, due to the lack of capacity of understanding. Does people now understand how to use a card? What can they do? Can the person understand how to use online banking, or Apple Pay? Like, I think using just card method is pretty disgusting, due to why can't theme parks use cash as well? Because there's lots of vulnerable people, elderly people who might just want to use, or tourist people, different people from
Absolutely.
around the world. wants to have a bit of cash and they don't have card, why should it be always on card? The question is, I think, is personal, and it's due to laziness, a way to make more money. Because I think the question I see, someone could say it's £13.95, but actually they're typing in a more higher figure, and where the customer might not understand or not concentrating of how much the item is costing. I think it's another way how to
They can't see what they're spending.
Yeah, or keeping the end of and each day keep a track of how much your business, the company's making, the person spent. And I just personally think, as another way, I think it's bad how it's just should be used cardless, because not everybody knows how to use a card. Treats everybody's individual differently, and I think that should change it, where it should be a wide range. Not even if it was part cash, part card, that would be better than just cash cardless on its own. Because what happens if someone cannot afford to have a device with online banking, but they might know how to use a card, but they haven't got online banking? It does, I think it's pretty disgraceful how the theme park just wants card only.
And I totally agree with that. Me and Kaz had an experience ourselves, a personal experience. We had a friend of ours, a personal friend, who, because of his disability, wasn't allowed to have a debit card. Now, he had £40 cash in his pocket, and we were both naive. We had no idea. If you look on the front page of Legoland's website, it doesn't say anything about using card only. It's only as you, even as you walk through the gates, it's not obvious that it's card only. Now, I hadn't budgeted for me to have to pay out for someone on my card. I budgeted only for myself because I knew that my friends, including Kaz, had money or card on them. So my friend, I won't name his name, it's unfair, he went to buy, it was like 26 degrees, it was really hot, and he went to buy himself a slush and a hot dog.
Yeah, and a hot dog, yeah.
And a hot dog, and he had £40 in his pocket, and the cashier refused to take the money. All right, so I was fuming already at this point. I said, "What do you mean you're not taking it? It's only card only." I said, "Yeah, but surely you must understand that some people don't have that." And I didn't have the money on my card, and I don't think Kaz had the money on the card to pay for my friend. We were at a disadvantage that day. We'd only budgeted for ourselves, and we knew our friend had money, so we tried another venue. They said, no, card only here. So I got a manager, and I said, "Look, my friend is in this situation where he has a disability, he's not allowed a debit card, and we were not told, it doesn't even say on the ticket that it's card only, and it's not obvious on the website." I think if you go deep into the 6th or 7th page of Legoland's website, in the restaurant section, it says it takes card only. Which, I mean, I am a capable internet user, but not everyone is. How would they know it's card only? I think, they should be putting it on the ticket or making it obvious as you're booking. So anyway, I got the manager, and they said if you go down to a certain area, I think it was on the south side of Legoland, that they could do a system. They had a system in place where they could exchange cash for a voucher. So we went and did that. And to know about no, wasn't available, that doesn't work here anymore. So we went up to customer services and said, we're in a situation where our friend isn't able to buy a drink. It's ridiculously hot. He can't buy any food or drink. Oh, can't you pay for it yourselves? And I said, it's not the point, is it? He's in a place where he's got money and he can't spend it, and we haven't budgeted for that. It's, why should we? Where's the information? And I spent about half an hour arguing with customers. So not just myself, Kaz also did. I mean, the chap who was with us can speak for himself, but he's very cautious and careful about what he does. He wasn't in the right frame of mind. He was stressed. So eventually, I ended up asking a member of the public, could he help out my friend? And so my friend had some food bought for him, but he got shortchanged. He only had two £20 notes, and his food was 13 quid. He lost £7 due to the fact that no one could buy his food for him that had change in their pocket. And the only notification that it was card only on the site was a small sign somewhere near the entrance after you get in, that I'm aware of. You can quote me underneath in the comments if you want. differently to that, but I discussed this on Theme Park Worldwide's chat group, and there were carers there that had told me, they've had this experience themselves, and that there is a card that you can preload prior going to a park, but we had to go through that experience to learn that, and I really think that's piss poor, quite frankly, and I think it's disgusting. Anyway, we've been talking about that subject for a while, and I don't want to make things sour for Legoland at all, but let's go on next to something again that Kaz wants to talk about, and that's toilet availability at the theme parks.
I think as well, there's not much options for the public, for different wide range of people, for a toilet. Knowing when I went, my mate went to Legoland to explore day, there's not much toilet availability. And I think that's pretty poor, especially for the wild range of the different type of people, the disabled, the elderly, it could be the men or anything. There is just not much choice. Like round the park, each park had 2-3 toilets, if that, and one disabled accessible one. And I think that's personally disgusting. And there should be more to it, like more, how...
Well, you brought up a point about the end of the day. What happened at the end of the day?
Yeah.
There was a huge queue to use the toilets. We were stood opposite the shop. The shop, I think it was on a 1-in, 1-out system.
Yeah, that's it.
The amount of people that were waiting to use a shop is poor. I've got a management qualification in crowd safety and event management. And to think they were 1-in, 1-out in the shop was ridiculous. It was baking hot outside, people getting sunburned, and then we were stood by the toilets, and the queue to get in the toilets was horrendous,
bad.
Really, really bad. And to think, why is this happening? Legoland, from even is the busiest park I've ever been to,
Definitely.
and probably the poorest management. I just don't get it. And do you think that stems from staff?
It's all to do with staff. It's blatantly due to staff management and how the theme park system is working. And the bit I didn't get, what really drove my head insane, there's a massive stall with like all the different bits and pieces where you can get cups or whatsoever. One person in a shop at a time, queuing up. Me and my mate were going to go in there, and we just thought we're not going in there due to how long the staff. It's like over 200 people waiting outside the time to go in a shop to get an item or have a look. I think having 1-in, 1-out is a bad idea, but maybe due to security reasons. But also, my argument would have put more CCTV up around the place and more people to go in and not wait around, because the way I would see it, someone was waiting so long to buy a present from that store for a event or something, and then they're having to wait around for so long. But if that's due to only lack of staffing and not enough security in there.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that brings me on to some other stuff that we've encountered. Like, we're regulars down at Thorpe Park, and we were there literally weeks ago. And we went to go on Colossus. It's something that me and Kaz have ridden dozens and dozens of times. And I even with the restraint I struggle with, I'm a bit smaller than Kaz, like build wise and height wise, and I struggle with it. But Kaz has been on so many times, and the restraints are hard work. The space in Colossus is bad, but why on this occasion did the ride operator or ride staff member say Kaz couldn't go on the ride? Oh, you're too big for it. But he's been on it a number of times before. What was your opinion of that situation?
Under discrimination, lack of laziness, and the lack of excuses, because members of the public and staff doesn't want to do their job, what they should be doing, where lots of people just comes in employs for it and don't care about their job or the public or the company itself. And I just personally think it's disgusting, to be honest. Obviously, I was very calm because, well, I didn't kick off, but I had to say a lot. I wanted to say a lot, but it's due to the lack of poorness, quality of the people who they employ. Why are they being so unpicky about certain things? Because my question, how come some people can just tap the thing down, no problem, and I'm allowed on there straight away and without no issue? Oh, he's too big. Because I had to take my coat off, take my shoes off, and to explore myself. Oh, I'm still tall for it. I'm not. It's wrong. It's lack of, because they couldn't put having any force or the pressure to make where I was sitting so cool.
I think it may come across as a bit fierce what Kaz is saying about, it's about who they employ, but I have to agree with him on this occasion. This person that was trying to close his seat down, get the clip down to the overhead restraint, but just simply couldn't be bothered because it was taking time. Yeah, it took time. Kaz was asked to take the stuff out of his pockets, which he did. He handed over his belongings, he emptied out his pockets, and it's never been an issue before. It was purely a case of, because it took Kaz some time to empty his pockets, right? They simply couldn't be bothered to hold the ride any longer. I appreciate it, they've got to feed the theme park, but goodness me, just because it took someone X amount of time to empty their pockets, I thought it was definitely a case of laziness. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. This is Thorpe Park we're talking about, and there's been stuff online about one of the managers threatened someone that was doing a vlog there, and I found it hard to believe. I didn't want to believe it, but it's true. And I wouldn't say Thorpe Park's notorious for these bad operations. I've always found Thorpe Park to be one of the quicker places, but on some more personal circumstances, I have found that it's been pretty poor down at Thorpe. And I've just realised, I've been sat here, we've been talking, and we said about accessibility. We kind of missed one of the topics, which is more to do with operations as opposed to personal management. But I'm not going to go into it too deeply. I'm going to mention it because I forgot it. It's to do with Blackpool Pleasure Beach and the rides there. For instance, there's Revolution roller coaster where there's zero accessibility for people in wheelchairs. However, I think that's a very tough subject, and perhaps it needs to be a whole interview just about accessibility for wheelchairs. So I'm going to move on quickly to the last little bit. This is an idea that I put in for this podcast interview, and this is about guides at parks. I don't see enough tourist guides, and I find that I have to go to a shop or retail outlet to get information. And for this last subject, Kaz, fill me in.
What would like staff it all?
As regards to do you think there's enough staff at the parks, and could they do more to help people with directions and things?
The popularity, I think there's not enough staff, and not enough staff due to no language barriers as well, and knowing showing people the right direction or the right information to go place to place. There's not enough of it. Like many years ago, I felt like it would be useful, 100%, but it's all within the last 7 years gone down to 25% out of 100. A lot of people just don't have any type of share information, show what directions, what the best place is. I think it's just disgusting, to be honest, and it's just really bad. They don't follow rules. Half of them don't even know what the duty are they're even doing.
I agree.
And I've learnt as well, business partly off it, but some of the ones where it says queue times due to when you get a right access pass thing on there, is not actually the same times as what it actually is.
Yeah.
So there's something on the system and the guidelines that's not actually accurate or truthful as well, but to do with all employees and stuff, I think it's terrible, and they should have more high qualified people with more life experience employing people instead of any individual, especially I would say this isn't under discrimination, but as people who's like 16, 17 coming into a job and thinking they know best, and when there's a bunch of loads of maturity people who knows what life is all about, and they don't give any accurate information, the staff members does not help the right people. What will that look like later on in life when more refuse, people come back and visit, and people will see our reputation, the park will lose businesses. So I think there needs to be a lot to change.
Okay, perfect. So let's end things on a positive note. We are off to Polton's Park tomorrow, so there's going to be some new media from that. But overall, I'm finished with what I want to say. Have you got anything more you want to add, or can we wrap this up?
Wrap this up, mate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Look forward to the trip tomorrow.